Hello, cyberspace. It's me, Angie, and I welcome both you and your ears to an episode of Life, Love, Music, and Space Travel. In case you're wondering who Angie is, I'm Angie, and I'm super stoked to spend some time sharing with y'all some of my experiences and thoughts on living, loving, music, and space travel, or spiritual experiences as I often refer to as space travel. A rather broad spectrum, right? Well, my hope is to always share something that resonates with, intrigues, excites, or perhaps inspires you. On that note, I invite you to sit back, buckle up, and take a little trip out into the cosmos with me. Hello, cyberspace. It's me, Angie, and I'm coming to you with episode number 43 of my podcast, Life, Love, Music, and Space Travel. And this last few weeks, I have been thinking about what it's like to be in the hallway. In case you're confused, I'll try and put it into context a little bit more. I'm pretty sure most of us are familiar with the cliche, when one door closes, another one opens. Well, I have been thinking a lot about the time spent in the hallway as I see it, that time between a door closing and the other one opening, and what it's like to be there. That hallway can be otherwise known as limbo. And so I'm going to offer up a definition of limbo. There were a few, but this was the one I liked. What does the word limbo mean? According to the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language and Collins English Dictionary, limbo refers to the state of being in between two stages and uncertain or unclear of what will happen next. According to the American Heritage Dictionary, the opposite of limbo is certainty. That makes a lot of sense to me. Limbo. I have often said I don't like limbo land. It's uncomfortable. There's a lot of uncertainty there. And I've been thinking about it a lot lately because I'm in the midst of some hallway stuff. I've been familiar with the hallway for years and years and years. I think I did refer to it as limbo, and I didn't like it. I didn't like being in limbo. I wanted to be through the door or on the other side of the door. I wanted things to be the way they were, or I wanted to know how they were going to be. But what I have come to find is, rather than looking at the hallway as being excruciatingly uncomfortable and wanting to be somewhere, longing for that certainty, my desire is to get more comfortable with the practice of enjoying the hallway. Because it seems to me that the hallway is really where life is happening. Once I'm through the door, then I'm where I'm going to be, or where I'm longing to get to, and then I kind of settle down. Maybe I can take a nap at that point. But it doesn't seem to be where life is really happening. I mean, I understand perhaps limbo land or the hallway is waiting to get to a concert. I am going to Jazz Fest. There's a part of me that understands that the door closed on Jazz Fest last year, and I've been in the hallway ever since. And pretty soon it's going to open up again when I get to Jazz Fest in May. So that time in between waiting, that's just a different level of the quote waiting game. But I can't sit there and just think, oh my gosh, things aren't happening and life is so terrible. At least not in that situation. Instead, I've been going to see other concerts and bringing music into my life in other ways. In all seriousness, there are some very challenging experiences that have to do with the hallway. The most recent that I've got going on right now is actually one of my little dogs. Yeah, I've mentioned my dogs many times. I have had dogs in my life for as long as I can remember. I will do an episode on dogs. That was actually going to be what this episode was going to be about, my doggies. But I decided more pressing is the idea of the hallway. Because I'm sitting in the hallway with one of them, my little dude Chip. He's almost 15. His birthday, actually, according to the vet, is the day before mine. So in July 24th, he'll officially turn 15. And right now, he's got some stuff going on. He was diagnosed with a mass on his lung or near his lung and his heart a few years ago. It was little. They tried to do a biopsy. They couldn't do anything about it because of the location and his age. So I just had radiographs done over the last few years. Well, this last radiograph set that I had done showed that the mass has grown. This is the real deal hallway for me. Trying not to be uncomfortable in this time between what's going on now and where it's heading. The next door for him will most likely be the transition onto his next great adventure. That's going to be the next big door. I have been in my head at different times. It is uncomfortable, but it's been bringing up for me this whole idea of what do I do while I'm in the hallway? I don't want to be just miserable and focusing on when is Chip going to pass on? When is it going to be over? That's not how I want to live. In the meantime, he's here. He's still eating. He's still a demanding little old guy who requires lots of attention and is a picky eater. He's living life. He's still here. The beauty for me is that that's growth, because there was a time in my life where it was much more challenging. These days, I'm really trying to hone in on my practice of finding comfort in the hallway, the space between, limbo land. It's actually, as I mentioned, it is where life is happening. Chip Dude is here now, and I don't want to miss out on any of his time. Thank goodness for all the stuff that I've done thus far that is allowing me to be present, tying in stuff like meditation, staying close to my recovery stuff, reading, listening, growing, praying, whatever it is that allows me to sit in present life as it is, not as I would prefer it to be. And it's interesting when I think about the idea of the hallway, a door opening and a door closing, I'm reminded of this whole life experience. I am actually presently listening to a book that I've mentioned before. It's by Ram Dass and Mirabai Bush, and it is called Walking Each Other Home. I believe it's Lessons on Loving and Dying. And Ram was talking about the difference or the comparison of life and death, that's not really a fair comparison. The actual opposite, I guess, of death is birth. So birth is the first door opening, and death is the next door opening, and life is what happens in between. But there's a lot of slowly closing doors and slowly opening doors. So that hallway time, I was chatting with my friend Sarah recently, and she mentioned, she's like, put a bench in. Maybe I'll hang some pictures in the hallway. I feel like I'm spending a lot of time in the hallway. I'm very aware of it now and very grateful for that awareness. It does take me back to a past hallway experience. Lots of them I have, and how intense they can be. Moving downstairs was a hallway experience for me. I really recall telling people I am in limbo. I didn't know where I was going. I wasn't really sure what was happening. There was no certainty as to how life was going to play out. So I sat in that hallway. It was intensely uncomfortable, as I've mentioned before, and I didn't like it. But goodness gracious, a lot of life happens in the hallway. Bringing it up into recent experiences, I did have a big door close, I guess, and another one open. I actually shipped my stuff from Colorado to Charlotte, North Carolina, 2.5 years ago. I wasn't so sure how things were playing out back in Colorado, and the marriage was not really going so well, and things were not looking very hopeful. So I decided to pack up the majority of my life. I thought I would be leaving sooner and that things would be moving forward. I would be moving through the opening door quicker. but it stayed there for a year, actually, before I moved, maybe even longer. And that stuff sat in Charlotte until last week. And last week, I had it moved from Charlotte to Wilmington. Thanks very much to my friend Bill, grabbing a few guys, actually 4 guys. And this past Friday, we moved the stuff. They got it out of the shipping container and into the storage unit in an hour and a half. It was a magnificent display of organization. Oh, I'm so grateful for them. But man, I mean, I have been thinking about that for years. My life has kind of been in there, or so I thought, my stuff. It's been in there. So I've been sitting in the hallway. Now that door opened, finally moved it here. It's closed to a certain extent. And I'm in the hallway again with it, really. What am I going to do with that stuff? I've moved some of it to the house here. A good portion of it is my eBay inventory. That's just a perfect example of the door closing, opening, hallway, short stints. But I definitely acknowledged it was a great weight lifted off and a past experience complete. It's no longer sitting somewhere. During my divorce, the divorce process was a big hallway, a long hallway, lots of pacing back and forth. And we were still living together for a portion of the time after the divorce was finalized, and then we had to wait for the house to sell. That's a lot of hallway time. Messy, uncomfortable, not a whole lot of certainty during that time. And although it wasn't always graceful and there was a lot of dysfunction and it was very uncomfortable and a lot of sadness, that was a lot of life taking place. And I remember when we were both moving through the door, the house sold. He went one way, I went another way. We got to say our goodbyes. That door in Colorado closed. I specifically remember sitting on the highway, actually not on the highway, I was about to turn onto I-70, and I wasn't sure what to do. Which way do I go? Which way do I go? Do I take the right and head to North Carolina? Do I take the left to go back to Eagle? I had to sit and ask for some guidance from the universe for sure. And soon enough, I got a couple signs. The phone rang. I talked to somebody. They confirmed some information. I then turned right. Exit. Stage right. I headed east. And here I am, living with mom and dad. Not sure what this door is really all about here. Am I staying here? I've actually been making myself pretty comfortable. I have an office now. Mom has been gracious enough to move her sewing room sort of out of that room and into her bedroom, and we're moving stuff around, and Dad also very gracious for sharing his space with me. But I feel like this is a little bit more of a permanent room. You know, I've moved out of the hallway of limbo about where am I living. Does that mean I'll be here for always? Well, I'm not going to be anywhere for always, but I don't know how things are going to play out, but I am allowing myself to sit comfortably in this room. I don't foresee any sort of transitioning anytime soon, so I don't feel like I'm in waiting for the next phase of my living situation. I have allowed myself to close the door behind that for me for a little bit and be still with where I am. There's a really great song, one of my favorites actually, that I will include in the show notes. It's written by Jimmy Cliff, Sitting Here in Limbo. One of my favorite versions personally is Garcia and Grisman. But it just talks really perfectly about what I'm talking about. So these thoughts that I have are not unique, which is why I love sharing with others and hearing other people's perspectives on how they feel about this kind of stuff. Being in limbo and being in that space in between. How is it described? The state of being in between two stages and uncertain or unclear of what will happen next. I can choose to either look at that as being challenging and frightening and scary, or I can be excited about it. And I understand, especially with my little dude situation, it's not super exciting by any means to think of how it's going to play out. I believe it's going to be pretty challenging. And yet, in that specific situation, my goal is to allow him a safe and comfortable space and place to continue getting old with dignity and transitioning when it's his time. Or if I have to help him along, then I'm willing to do that. I love him. He loves me. And so this time in between the hallway or in the hallway is really, as I've mentioned, it's where life is happening. So much stuff is going on. It brings up for me, I had loose plans to go to Colorado for June and October. My plan is still set to go in October, but I'm not sure about June now. So waffling back in that hallway space and not sitting so firm in what my little plans and designs are about, being flexible, taking a deep breath. I really need to work on some breathing stuff. I have a therapy appointment Wednesday, and I asked about breathing in our last session, and he brought up Wim Hof regarding his breathing methods, and I'm definitely going to check that out. But that's the kind of stuff that I need to help me get through this life experience. It is pretty intense and hardcore at times, and not really for the faint of heart. And I want to be able to be here for as long as I'm supposed to be here. Comfortable with limbo land. I mean, it's really exciting getting my shipping container moved, and now I'm organizing stuff in my bedroom and hallway. Here I am in the hallway, not really sure where everything's going. Not really sure if I'm going to go to Colorado in June. Still planning on going to New York in August as well, but I'm not sure how stuff is really going to play out. And so just taking time and living in the midst of it and not being frozen. I'm pretty sure that's how I used to live, frozen in between. What do I do? Do I stay? Do I go? And what do I do in the meantime? There was a time when I was very emotionally unwell. And when life was challenging, I couldn't do a lot of stuff. I really wasn't able to go to work. I slept a lot. I drank a lot. Also, I didn't want to feel much of anything. But I specifically remember I was very unable to do things like the daily living, opening the mail, the dishes, going to work, making it in for my shift. The uncertainty was overwhelming. And it's not like that anymore. For lengths of time, anyway. It's more moments. I still find myself looking at my little dude. How is his breathing? Is he comfortable? He seems to be comfortable. He's still getting up and around, and as mentioned, he's eating, and I'm kind of catering to him to a certain extent, but that's where my focus is. So it's not about all the other stuff that's going on. Bringing it down to what's really important and where do I want to spend my time. The hallway is where I realize I spend a lot of my time. And my suggestion is for all of y'all out there who have been familiar with the hallway and don't like it, perhaps cozy it up a bit. Try getting comfortable with being in the hallway. It's really where life is. And the tools that are available in order to be okay in limbo land are plentiful. It might require time and effort to bring in acts of self-care, which can be very contrary to some of the lives that we live. But as each day goes on, for me, I realize that's really what life is about. What do I need to do to be okay with living life on life's terms? It doesn't play out the way I want it to, hope it will, wish it would, fear it will, for the most part. It plays out the way it does, even when I make plans, especially when I make plans. I have a lot of choices. There are lots of door openings and closings. Each podcast episode for me is an opening and a closing. The time between the episode is the hallway. It's taken me a little bit of time to get this episode out. I've been in my head a lot. I've been buying some new equipment, a little handy H1N Zoom recorder that I think will change my podcasting format a little bit. I have not done any episodes with anybody else, and I'm really looking forward to bringing in other people on the episodes and having conversation about this sort of stuff. So it's not just me bouncing it off of me and hoping that somebody out there will reach out to me and share with me your experience. This I can kind of take with me, and I think it will widen my horizons for the podcast. Something to look forward to. But this time between episodes, I've kind of been concerned about what am I going to say, in my head a lot about it. And this having nothing to do with really anything, but I did read or hear a quote recently. I'm not sure where I heard it from. I could Google it. I'll see if I can find something sure on Google about it. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. I need to remember that so that I'm not frozen in time on making a decision or doing something creative like this podcast episode. I have been in my head a lot about the hallway. What's going on? What is Angie doing? I don't have a romantic relationship of any kind. And I'm definitely not interested in going the modern way with dating apps and that kind of stuff. It's either going to present itself to me or it's not going to present itself to me. I'm out and about. I'm attending events. I'm meeting people. So I feel like the universe will connect me with somebody when the time is right. And so to all of a sudden just focus on having the relationship and that being the be all end all so that I can get out of the hallway in that form. No, I'll sit in the hallway on it. I'll cozy it up, put in a few benches, maybe a chaise lounge, hang up some pictures, really make that space the space to be. Yeah, so the hallway. Once again, gently suggesting to all y'all out there, try focusing on the hallway and embracing what's being presented to you, the opportunity for growth that comes with being where your feet are, being where my feet are. Right now, my little dude Chip and Marshmallow, because I worry about her in the hallway. How's she going to be when he's gone? Is she going to notice? I'm putting all of this thought stuff on them, and it's stressing me out. And in the meantime, I'm pretty sure we're still going to get to take some walks and go outside and play in the yard and sit in the hot sun and take a nap and eat some food, all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I do believe that is yet to take place. And if it doesn't, and if life changes in some manner for him, well, I'll deal with it then. And he'll head on to the next great adventure with Daffodil and Bristles and Panda and Pumpkin, Sass, Coney, Marbles, Sammy, all of our beautiful babes, Sheba, and there's so many that I've been able to spend life with, share time with. I kind of think that's it. I appreciate y'all for listening. I realize that this whole podcast format for me is a cathartic process for me to get this stuff out of my head. I like to think that it inspires you to do the work to perhaps get to where I am. Not that I'm in some super lofty place by any means, but life is much more enjoyable these days for me. Getting through the challenging stuff requires work and focus. Find yourself a fellowship if that's what it is. I can suggest things for you, but you have to go out there and do the work. So my experience is just mine, meant to perhaps inspire somebody in some way to get well, take care of yourself, go into that yoga class or the meditation class. Tonight I'm going to meditation. I've been going on Monday nights. I've participating with this group called Fronting Life. I will include them in my show notes. It's a fantastic group. It is not recovery based, but it is a group of people in recovery in one form or another. And the truth is we're all recovering from something. So you're not that unique. Everybody is recovering from something. But anyway, tonight is they have some Reiki practitioners there. But I've really been enjoying 35 minutes of meditation. It's a great environment. They're great people. I love Travis, who leads the group. He's super informed, puts together a great format and a program, and comes in prepared to offer some reprieve for a bunch of people who need it. So I'm doing that, and I know that that's helping me with my thought process. So I'm not living in a space of frozen uncertainty. Lots of life to be lived in between, most definitely. When that door is slowly closing or has closed and the other one is slowly opening. Maybe there's just a window and it's not big enough to climb through. Take the time to be where your feet are and embrace what is being presented to you. I don't want to miss out. I definitely don't want Chip to head off any sooner than he's supposed to. I don't want to miss out because I'm afraid of what's coming. We're all going to transition, for goodness sake. No one here gets out alive by any means. And who knows what the next part of the journey is about. But while I'm here, I want to soak up every bit of this life experience that I can. Yeah, that's what I've got for today. Here's to a fantastic week. Here's to practicing being in the hallway and finding some joy and comfort in it. Thanks for listening. Bye. So we've reached the end of today's episode. Thanks so very much for listening. It's now time to reconnect to planet Earth and all that comes with living on the blue ball. I'd love to hear your ideas for future episode topics, along with any and all positive and/or constructive feedback. Please feel free to contact me at ashysbadass@gmail.com. Thanks again for spending some time with me and allowing me to share myself with you. Until next time, please be gentle with yourselves, be kind to animals, and do all you can to allow your authentic selves to shine brightly.